Guest on the Rink Shrinks is a man that needs no introduction, the 5th overall pick in the NHL entry draft with the Pittsburgh Penguins and current co-host of Spittin Chiclets, our boy, the Whit Dog, Ryan Whitney. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, guys. I was excited when you asked me to come on today, Bri. We haven't had a hot stove in a minute, I would say. Long time ago when we were in the studio together, I think. I don't know if that was the last time.
Yeah.
But it's going to be great to catch up with you guys. I'm back in the game of hockey itself with Ryder right now, my oldest, and you guys have been through that, of course. Motts, I love seeing you out in Surrey. Hope the team's doing well, but it's great to be here.
Yeah, good stuff. Love hearing all the stories of you being back in the rink and figuring stuff out, age appropriate drills, and just
it's
trying
hard.
To,
it's very hard, Motts.
It is, yeah. And then the level of expectation.
Right. He told me going in, he's like, these kids that age, they'll be turning 7 and 8, right? Like the older kids will be turning 8 once the new year comes, and like Ryder will be turning 7 soon. So I didn't really understand. I coached Little League, but not that involved with it. And they don't listen.
No.
It's like, you have to be a drill sergeant. So you're actually yelling, like, look at my eyes, look at me. And then you can't keep them in line. You have to have like stations so there's no line, because in line is where the madness happens. So it's a lot more. It's very fun, but it's tougher than you would think when you first get into it.
Hey, and the best is
and I lost my stick. I tweeted this yesterday. I had to go buy a stick because it was too late to maybe call a favor in. $400, these sticks. $400.
Dude, I was going to bring that up. I'm like, Whit, you played in the NHL for however many years. You got more sponsors than a European Super League team, and you can't get a free stick. It's unbelievable. Your father, you probably had at least a dozen that your father has tucked away down his basement that he's given out to his buddies. 100%. Like, that's how I go down my father's garage. He's like, oh, I got this stick. I got one from here. Do you want a stick? And I'm like, dude, how do you have all these sticks? You haven't skated in 10 years. But it's unbelievable. It's great to hear. And like you said, the coaching perspective, like, it changes your mind crazy. The kids, it's herding cattle. And my suggestion always to coaches was just keep them moving, get stations, just keep them going, try to get kids that are similar in skill level as best as you can together. And that's the thing, you got a team of 15 kids and there's just a wide range of talent.
Yeah, there's a very wide range, and at this age it's all about like the best skaters.
Yes.
So you try to get the kids that can move pretty good together, but then the other group, you're like, do we want them with a couple of the kids that can skate well? So at least it kind of pushes them possibly. It's a complete, it's like a mind torpedo. You're just like, I don't know what. It's funny, like you play hockey your whole life. You play pro hockey, and then you can't think of drills. I'm texting Bri. Bri gave me as a username for a website. I should probably get my own. To just like look for drills and stuff like that. But then explaining the drills, like some of them aren't watching, so the third kid goes and he messes up. You're like, oh my God, this is just, and it goes by. What's nice is it goes by super quick. I mean, it does suck. It's half ice and you only get 50 minutes, but all of a sudden there's 8 minutes left and you're like, oh my God, it's better than sitting in the stands.
Game time and shootout. Game time and shootout at that point.
Whoever invented shootout.
Whoever invented that 50-minute hour is genius in the hockey world. As they get older, it's kind of brutal because it goes by too quick. But when they're younger, I think it's a perfect amount of time because you give them a little at the beginning. They kind of start buzzing around. You get into your stations. Then by the end of it, you're playing a game. You throw 2 nets on the goal line. You're playing some type of shootout competition. Bye-bye. See you on Thursday night.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice because you could tell when you've kind of done a good job because there'll be a drill where kids love it. Like I did, I just had like 8 of them around the circle the other night, and it's just like follow your pass, right? Pass and then go where you went, go where you passed.
That's a Dan Whitney special.
Oh yeah, like that would be. We're trying to use the boards too, but
team game.
Keep it simple.
Team game, keep it simple. But after one of the kids is like, I like that drill. I'm like, nice. And then there's drills you do where kids are so out of it they don't get it. And you're like, all right, that was a fail. We got to move on to the next one. Because I could think of drills for like Motts, your team or something, and then you're like, wait, they can't even skate backwards. So
well, the thing is,
can't do a 2-on-1.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like we do very simple drills at times. It's just the level of execution that you can hold to a higher standard. And my advice would be, like you might fall into the trap of, because you played and you want to make, a practice kind of flow and snap pucks and whatever. But it's going back to the basics, like your dad always mentioned, like passing. Passing is the biggest thing that is undervalued. Even when I first started coaching I think it was around like 8 years old age group, and there's like shiny objects, like you're saying, like no, they're just not paying attention at all. And then you're expecting them to do a simple drill, like for example, like across the blue line, you pass it back to the second guy, and then pass it to the guy in motion. Like just like a simple that we would do it at the NHL level, but the execution, you have to stay on side, you have to do this, you have to do that, and you're just feeling good because you're snapping it. And I've called the kids in. And I hate that elite term, right? So the kids are playing like at the highest level of their age group. And I'm like, raise your hand if you think you're an elite hockey player. And they were all like, yeah, like throwing their hands up. I'm like, all right, raise your hand if you think an elite hockey player should be able to make a tape-to-tape pass to a stationary target. They're like, yeah. And then
do it.
Yeah, and then what about a player?
How do you do it?
Yeah, and then I'm like, all right, get back in line and do the drill correctly. But yeah, that's it's a learning curve, and I'm so happy that you're in the ranks and kind of giving your knowledge to the kids. They're going to be benefiting throughout the year, and it's so cool to see them as they go through the year and get better at that execution, even the simplest things.
Yeah, and it's the other thing that's funny that Bri told me is before, like, girls at this age, there isn't a girl on my team, but there'll be girls on the ice. And the Milton team, like the town team I help coach as well, they listen to perfection.
Yeah.
They listen, they follow directions. It's like, oh my God, Jesus, I got 3 boys. I'm like, I'm completely screwed. This is nuts. Because the girls, they're sitting there looking you in the eye, and then they do the drill. You're like, why can't these mutants just do what the girls are doing? So, the other thing about coaching.
How do you think your parents felt?
Oh my God, I know. But I feel like I listened, Rossi. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering things. I asked Big Dan. I feel like I was a follow directions guy. I was
You had no choice. You had a drill sergeant of a father.
I had no choice. I had to follow directions. So, but it's very, very fun to be involved with. And my thing is, like, I travel a lot, so I couldn't be a head coach, but I wanted to be an assistant. And then there's times like, it's kid to kid, right? Like I don't even know if coaching my oldest rider is like a great thing. Like it's like he kind of, if I tell him something, he gets rattled. Like I can't really, like, we'll see how it turns into. But I know one thing in my life. It's hockey. It's the only thing I know anything about. So if I weren't coaching, it's like I feel like I could give back to kids and at least give if it's one kid, 2 kids that really kind of appreciate your coaching. And like my dad said, you just never want to be the kid's last coach. Just like at the end of the year, if all those kids like hockey at this age more than they did in September, I feel like you did a good job. So trying to do that, it's really weird though, because we kind of struggle a little bit. Like we have one kid who really can kind of take it end to end when he wants, and every team we play has 3, maybe 2 to 4. So that at this age, it's kind of like whoever has more of those guys. But I didn't think like winning and losing games, like in your mind, you're like, no, you just want to enjoy it, improve and have fun. But then the competitive side does take over, and you see the kids kind of bummed out after you lose. So it's like, oh, you got to like balance it. But it's a great group of kids and a great group of parents. And that was like my thing, that everyone I've met's awesome. And it's been really fun, even though the wins haven't really been coming as we hope.
They'll come because they're getting good coaching and they're having fun. And Mark Dennehy gave me the greatest advice, I think, years ago when I first started coaching. He was like, just create an environment where kids love coming to the rink. And that I always remember that. And that's what it's all about. And then the other thing is, and the suggestion, and I don't know if you're doing it already, is if riders playing forward, work with the D and kind of have like you have 2 or 3 other coaches and give them like little snippets. But I found that especially with my oldest, with Brian, like if I told him to go to the left wing, he'd go to the right wing. It would just no matter what, crazy. It could have been the simplest thing. He would just do the opposite. You know what I mean? If I told him to go to the red line, he'd go to the goal line. You know what I mean? And look at me and be like, well, you said it's red. right? Like it's the same thing, same color.
You're like, you got me there.
Yeah, you got me there. But it's and so each kid that you coach and you have two other boys that are going to be coming through the pipeline eventually. But it's like, find another coach that kind of deals with that with your child more so than you do, because you don't want it to affect your relationship. And that's what I always found was a great balance. Motts, I know you dealt with it as well.
Yeah, it's like, can you take this one? Something like absolutely ridiculous. Because if I even say like the most simple thing, and it is a difficult kind of situation. Like you guys lived it as, your parents or your dads coached you guys. My dad never coached me, so I never had that, dynamic of a parent, telling me what to do at the rink. And like he never played, so there was no pressure on me to do anything. Where
that's the side of me where it's like, oh, maybe I almost like shouldn't be coaching him, and then you're Bry's right. And I actually had like a moment last night that hit me kind of hard, because before we went to practice, I said, hey, bud, if I tell you something out there, like I'm not mad at you at all, because he'll get really like his face gets down and he gets down, and then I'm like, oh, I was just telling you, like, keep your knees bent, move your feet, like little things. And he's like, okay. And then we get to the rink, and first drill, like the guys, like they're doing like the power skating at the beginning for the first 10, 15 minutes. And he's like, all right, 2 crossovers left, 2 crossovers right, all the way down the ice. And, Ryder does 1 and 1 and 1. And then he comes back, and I'm like watching him, and everyone else is doing 2. And I'm watching him, he comes back, and he's like 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. And I skate over, and I'm like, hey, bud, 2 crossovers, And immediately his face goes like all sad, and he's like kind of talking back to me, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, we just talked about this. This is crazy. Like, and then after practice, I was like, bud, when I came up to you at the beginning, remember before I told you, like, I'm not upset. I'm helping you and telling you got to get the drill right. And he's like, okay. I said, then how come you got so upset and got mad? And he's like, well, you looked mad. And I was like, oh, like I got the resting bitch face.
Big time.
And I apologized. I'm like, buddy, I get that. Like, I was probably like, it's one right. I in my mind, I wasn't like, bud, you're not doing what the drill says. But my face definitely showed otherwise. So I was like, hey, you know what? I apologize. From now on, I'm going to have a big smile on when I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be super happy when I tell you to do that.
But I'm going to try to do that, because I'm like, maybe he's never doing what like I tell him to try to do, because he thinks I'm furious because of my resting bitch face.
Yeah, your face is talking again, Whit.
That was a big problem all hockey, the body language. I passed it on.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what's the latest with Chiclets? Obviously, you guys are bombing around. You got trips planned. Obviously, everything is going amazing. So give us a little update on that. I love how you've been working Keith into the mix a little bit. He's been adding, I think, a ton of value. Obviously, the latest interview he was on with Lou, with Roberto Luongo, was fantastic. So I think he adds a great dynamic there.
He's perfect. So he's going to be doing more and more, which we love. And it's like the main thing is Keith's humor and quick wit. It's unmatched pretty much. Everyone knows it. It's nuts, like the quickness and what he thinks to say on the spot. But on top of that, like and how good like Keith and Biz and I like kind of work together. It's more about Keith played double the amount of games that Biz and I played combined. So he knows so many more people than us. Like we would never get Luongo without him. We got Brian McCabe because of him that'll be coming out. There's just so many guys that Keith knows. And so like his kind of pipeline within the league still, he played way more recent than both of us. So there's just like so many things that make it a lot of fun for us when he's on the show. So that's great. We were down with him. Yeah, we have a sandbagger with I don't know when this show's coming out, but we have a sandbagger with Tuukka Rask and Andrew Raycroft that's dropping Thursday, or will have dropped Thursday whenever this is released. And then we did another one with Darcy Tucker and Steve Thomas. You remember Steve Thomas?
Oh, yeah.
Tough as shit, had some huge years, and they're good buddies. They actually fought 3 times. And then Thomas went to the Leafs, and they became teammates. They're telling that story. That was down.
Of course, they probably became best friends, right?
Oh, of course they did. Like most hockey guys, once you play with a dude that you've battled with all the years, and so it's been good. I mean, I think last year's NHL season was crazy. Like all the storylines that happened throughout the year. This year might have been off to a little bit of a slow start, but things are picking up, and the league's in a great spot. So talking about it's awesome. I enjoy that, and it's just been a lot of fun doing it. It's a great time. It's an unreal job to get to have, and I love it.
Well, we talked about it last week, Whit, and honestly, it's like just talking hockey, talking podcasts, and for us to be able to do this with 200 and some odd episodes into this, and you guys are up over 500, right? And it's amazing. But I think you guys have done such a good job at making hockey players more like getting to know them better, right? And it's so the platform that you guys have created through the weekly episodes and the Sandbaggers, and now you look and Biz is doing DraftKings commercials. He's on TNT. You're bumping, elbows with Gretzky and those type of guys. It really is. It's unbelievable. And I think not to pat you on the back too much, but it's like you guys have really brought that out a lot, and it's amazing. And I think you guys have really contributed to where the game is at today, which we all appreciate, because I think it is at such a good place. And like you said, you look around the league, the parity right now early on in the season, it's even you look at San Jose, who would think would be a doormat, right? They're up. They've won, I think, 6 out of their last 10 games, right? Like just good kind of storylines, and obviously a lot of different things can change on a weekly basis here.
Yeah, the game's in an incredible spot, and I think that hockey's definitely like the lowest in terms of leagues where guys are willing to really show personality. It's such like a team first game. And for so long, guys didn't want to have quotes or speak out of turn or make any sort of noise outside the locker room that would create, things on the side or distractions. And I don't know, like I feel like that's changing a little bit, whether it's what guys are wearing to games, guys on social media, or coming on our pod, or so many different podcasts where you're just getting to know them a little bit better. And that's what fans wanted. That's why that Amazon series was so sweet, I thought, because even if you didn't like or know much about hockey, you could learn about these different superstars and what makes them tick and their lives away from the rink. And that's what we enjoy talking about. And I think obviously you get into times where you understand guys are more private and more quiet, and you just try to get the most out of them that you can. But then there's guys who come on that really want to talk. I've seen Pat Maroon's a weekly guest on a podcast with Colby Cohen and John Lazarus, I believe, where that's a current player that's coming on every week. He was chirping Brandon Montour last week. Like that's unlike what we've seen in hockey. That's cool and something that just brings fans like a little bit more on the inside, which is what everyone wants. And it's all social media based, and how Twitter and everything's changed the game so much with news reporting and current events and all these things that whenever the news breaks, you hear about it in hockey, but you're also getting to learn a little bit more about the players through all that.
Yeah, and I feel like with your platform, you've done an unbelievable job at really growing and being creative with the content. Just being behind the scenes in college, campuses, and kids love that. And even coming, Biz and the crew coming out to Surrey to kind of have a day in the life of a
Can't
Surrey
wait
Eagle.
to see that.
That's going to be comedy.
Yeah, it just the demographic and the you're first to market pretty much, but then you've done a really good job at staying current and creative, like I said. But it's like the hockey players that have benefited from the information, the content, and then just having it as kind of a resource of the hockey community is huge. And so we talked about it last week, and we're gonna start a suggestion box of in the builder category of the Hall of Fame. So we're gonna start it early for Spittin Chiclets. So
I told Biz, I'm like, Biz, don't sleep on the fact you might end up in the Hall of Fame.
I know,
You
right?
can't be talking about certain things at your speech that you've mentioned before on our show.
Exactly.
So he's like, shut up. But I also like that Biz and I's thoughts on the game are very similar. I know Keith's we'll disagree on stuff, but overall it's kind of like you two guys, or the same as you two guys, where as the game's changed and definitely got a little softer, I like being able to remind people what so many hockey fans still enjoy, and the physicality and the fighting and things that have definitely changed, which I understand, and some of it's for the better, but some of it is for the worse. So this year I've been on a platform of these hits that are to the head, like if you have your head down and you're watching your pass, like I don't care. Like that's on you. Like, the guy might get suspended, but if you pass the puck in the NHL, you cut across the middle, and you haven't picked your head up one time, and you get run over, like back to the onus on the guy who never picks his head up.
So the responsibility of the puck carrier has gone away.
Where back in the day, it's like you'd get run over,
it's your fault,
and the coach is like, pick your head up, like, and now it's switched a little bit. So like things like that where we could talk about. Biz is very intense on the heavyweight crown, like that's back in the NHL with Reeves in Toronto. This Olivier in Columbus is a killer. You got what's his in Philadelphia? That kid's an animal. Delorier in Philly. Yeah. You got Jack-Eye in Montreal, and like that kind of coming back. So it's
the Rempe piece. He's always, he's up and down a little bit, but same thing. Another guy that can challenge for it.
So we're lucky with the listeners that we have so many listeners. We're able to at least give our opinions on what we love about hockey, and a lot of the times it's a high percentage of people who agree with us that really you don't hear from that often on all the social media platforms where it's switched a little bit. But there's people on both sides, but it's at least good to get your opinion out there and be able to be unfiltered in what you believe like the game's all about.
Yeah, the silent majority coming through when you bring up a topic that has, a lot of divisiveness with safety and whatnot, but like the original and like the game that it was was built on, toughness, intimidation, just it's still there. It's still there.
Look at the cup. You can talk all you want about regular season, and like the skill level is incredible. And talking about younger kids, like the kids we coach, like I'll see, like some of our kids are the elite team at the other end of the ice. You're like, these kids are 7 years old.
But can they pass?
But can you pass? Or do you want to pass? But the skill level in the NHL is incredible. But then you look at the Cup champs and you look at the playoffs, and it's like, hey, buddy, you could take a time machine back, and a lot of times it was the toughest, biggest, strongest, most intimidating teams that would lift the cup at the end of the year, and that will probably never change. So,
right. Well, you look at, like I used this example the other day with my kids, with my team, and it's like Matthew Tkachuk, right? Like, is he the best skater on the ice? Absolutely not, right? Is he the biggest guy on the ice? Is he the fastest? Does he have the best hands? Like, none of it, right? But he's the most effective hockey player, and that's why he's a Stanley Cup champ. He's tenacious. He competes. He's got all those intangibles. He's willing to take a check. He's willing to give a hit. He's going to the dirty areas. Like, those are the guys. Like, everybody wants to turn on the highlights and watch, Jack Hughes or whatever, just flying through the neutral zone. But it's like, that's not realistic for most kids. So, you even look at a
Sam Bennett.
Right, a Sam Bennett, or you look at why, Macklin Celebrini's been off to a hot start. Like, I was reading quotes about him the other day. Like, he plays a 200-foot game. He competes in the against the walls, where Will Smith's a little bit different, right? Of like a slow it down type of guy and more skill set and everything like that. So it's, it takes all types, but, don't just focus on those. And that's my message to these younger kids. And, I think everybody's like, watch these younger guys, watch these older guys that are still very, like the Florida Panthers don't win the Stanley Cup without Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. Yeah, they have obviously Barkov and Reinhart, like even a Reinhart, right? Is he the best skater on the ice?
No, he's actually not, but he PKs and he does everything. And I just find it funny with probably kids like B's age, Bry, even Colin's age, like, yeah, you'll see some super skilled players, and like they dream of playing D1 or the NHL. It's like, buddy, like 0.01% of the guys who make it, forget making it, but actually make it, are gonna be the skill guys. Like, you have to, like, you got to understand, like, what is there, 40 guys in the league, 50 guys in the league who are like game breakers, and like, it's like, you got to be able to do everything. Like a guy, like if you look at this Kiefer Sherwood in Vancouver right now, undrafted American kid, never got drafted, played at Miami of Ohio, spent a lot of time in the minors where he was a scorer. Now he's in the NHL. didn't really make the NHL as a scorer, did a hell of a job in Nashville as like a checking line guy, fourth line energy guy, but his skating and his tenacity and his like willingness to play defense all of a sudden gets him to Vancouver where he's playing with Elias Pettersson. It's like, you can't expect to go and be the skill guy at every level. Like, and if you can have skill but do those other things, those are the people that like hockey coaches want to have on their team. And that's the one thing about how amazing the league is and how skilled it is. It's like, there is so few guys that are going to be skilled players at any level that if you don't have the other stuff, you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
And talking to our group and some guys that are moving on to play Division I next year, it's like you're getting away with some stuff this year. You should be able to get away with stuff, and you should be able to try things at certain times. But I need you to understand the correct way to play, because you're not going to be able to get away with it next year. And you might have to take a little lesser role, but ultimately within that framework, if you can duplicate it, and it's reliability for a coach, and trust, in a player where you will get more minutes. So It might not be sexy on the score sheet or to the fans, but it's sexy to the team and your teammates and the coaching staff. So you gain that trust, and ultimately you can, get more rope. But knowing the right things to do in the right times in the right areas of the ice is kind of the most important thing as players kind of move on, instead of being that guy that doesn't want to adapt. And we've seen so many players like that come through pro hockey from college to the AHL to the NHL. They don't make it because they're not willing to adapt, or they just don't know how to do it. So
like I think one of the best examples ever is Pando.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
Jay Pandolfo is this like superstar offensive, not just offensive, but superstar scorer in college for 4 years. And he played, I don't know, 13 years in the NHL as a checking winger. It's like, it's just about adapting and what kids are kind of willing to do that or not. But I actually just thought of another funny youth story with Ryder. So like I don't know where this comes from. He's like a slider. Like he's skating at a guy. He's diving on his stomach and sliding at him. And I'm like, hey, bud, you can't do that. Like the guy keeps stopping and going around you, and you're flying to the corner. He must just like love sliding on the ice.
Loves the long body.
I keep telling him. And the Milton game last week, he comes back. He's doing a great job. He's back checking hard. I'm watching him. I'm like, attaboy. And he like Pete Rose into home plate or into second base, dives. And just buries the goalie. They go flying in the corner. The kid gets it and just slides in the open net. I'm like, this kid. He gets to the bench, and I'm looking at him, and I'm about to be, and he's like, I know. I'm like, then why'd you do it? He's like, I don't know. So
did you say it with a smile, or did you have
I was not smiling. I think that put us down. I was about to be like, he's like, I know. Love sliding.
That's unbelievable. How excited are you for the Four Nations Cup coming up in February? Obviously, you got USA, Canada, Finland, Sweden. I know you guys have talked about it. You're probably planning a trip up there, and obviously we got some games here in Boston. But I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to see the talent that's showcased there.
I can't wait. I think it's I don't remember a time where Canada and U.S. were this even, or maybe even the U.S. roster looks like a little better. I know we don't have a McDavid, McKinnon, Makar, although Quinn Hughes is pretty close to Makar. But the depth and like the U.S. roster, I'm most excited. I think it's December 2nd, 3rd, or right around then you get the rosters. And then you're like, oh, my God, like this guy got left off. This guy made it. There's always a couple surprise picks. And then the games start. And I mean, that U.S.-Canada game in Montreal, and then knowing the finals in Boston, but like people already kind of thinking about U.S.-Canada in the final. It's like, if you don't think Sweden and Finland have something to say here, and the Finns D's kind of weaker, definitely the weakest of the four countries, but their forwards are phenomenal. They got Saros in net, and then Sweden is just loaded per usual, and like it's just going to be so cool getting back on best. I think the last time was 2016 World Cup, and even then there was like a young stars team. And McDavid's now going to play with Crosby, and it's just so awesome for the game. And it's all kind of an appetizer for next year in Italy for the Olympics. I'd love to try to, we're kind of talking about trying to get over there for that and seeing the best on best for an Olympic gold medal. And I think it's amazing for the game. It's crazy it's been this long.
Biz is carrying the flag at the Olympic, the opening ceremonies.
He doesn't even realize it's like the Jamaican flag. It's like, dang, what are you doing?
Like, dude, you're with the wrong country.
So I think it's going to be awesome. And the two cities like Montreal.
Can I get 5
Boston,
eggs instead of 3? And can I get
get them over medium? Medium.
Over freshly squeezed OJ. They don't have freshly squeezed OJ in Italy. What the hell?
He's like, sir, this is a McDonald's. So that tournament will be sweet. I mean, the talent USA has. I mean, I'm hoping. I don't know what's up with Matthews. He's in Germany for his upper body injury like that. It would really suck if he's not healthy. They said he's day-to-day, I think, for 3 weeks, 4 weeks almost. So that's a guy
Sounds more like
without
week
him,
to week than day-to-day.
Yeah, without him, probably US would be in one a little bit.
Speaking of some current news, what do you think of the Bees firing Montgomery?
I tweeted out, like, if you're – I think Bill Parcells is like, hey, if you want me to cook dinner, I'd like to say in the groceries. And it's different now in hockey where there's just GM, president, and then coach. And the coach is not deciding free agent signings and stuff for the most part. But I think it's kind of crazy. I think the Bruins, the last 3 coaches they fired are all Jack Adams winners. And it's like, all right, well, at some point, when do you look to the top and the guys that are picking the roster and signing certain guys? And obviously, this year's got off to a rough start, and the coach ends up getting let go first. That's kind of how it goes when you can't make trades with the salary cap. But the roster that they have, I don't know how good it is, and I don't know what another coach is being able to get out of them. That remains to be seen. But you're crazy if you're not looking at Montgomery now. Like Anaheim, you've heard rumblings about Cronin, or Detroit with Lalonde. Like, I don't know. I guess St. Louis probably wanted or did want Monty before he went to Boston, and you got to think he's getting hired quick. His record was like 100.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So that's just. I saw that the 2023 Jack Adams finalists, Lindy Ruff, Montgomery, and Haxtell in Seattle, they're all gone now. So the coaching. That's why, like, coaching in the NHL, Jesus Christ. I mean, you have zero ability to really get comfortable. You got no sort of stability because the amount of coaches that get fired and let go so often, so quick now is crazy.
Yeah, you can't fire the players. There's no job security. It's just you get hired to get fired.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Monty's record, 715 winning percentage, 120 and 41. I mean, you want to talk about, like you said, he's not going to be hanging around jobless for a very long time. Obviously, I think even our buddy Freddie Meyer might have him as an assistant over his son's playing at Rivers. So maybe he'll be running the PP or something.
Is son at Rivers?
Yeah, he's over there.
Oh, what a coaching staff they're going to have.
I know. They could have that, and they got Pando as the eye in the sky when he's able to be in town. So, no, it's tough. It's a difficult situation. I've gotten to know Monty, obviously, the last 2 years. Our boys have played together. They've been defensive partners. Great guy, great family. And it's just it's sad to see, but you kind of could see the writing on the wall a little bit with just the way the Bruins started the season. Obviously, you sign a couple big dogs. The roster isn't what it once was. Unfortunately, he coached them so well. They weren't supposed to be good.
Yeah.
The last 2 years,
they were supposed to be brutal.
They were supposed to be awful, and he did such a good job at coaching them. Now the expectations completely changed. Like last year should have been a complete rebuild, and he probably would have been totally fine, but he did such a good job, and the team overperformed where they were, and we saw when it came to a crashing end in the playoffs. But it's like he just, now they're like, oh no, we're still in win now mode, and it's like we could be in for a long road in Boston, I think. And I've known Joe Sacco for a long time. He coached me, and like I think anybody's up against it at this point.
Yeah, I do. I've kind of been like, oh, I don't know about this team. Biz is so adamant. He's like, they're good. They're good. I don't get this. I guess his argument would be like, McAvoy hasn't started great. Coyle hasn't started great. Marshawn had 3 surgeries. Swayman sat out camp. He doesn't look like himself. Pasta's a little slow out of the gate. So, like, they do have guys where if they get it going, Zaka hasn't been great. So, like, if these guys turn it around, like, yeah, they can get in the playoffs. I don't think it's a Stanley Cup team by any means, but there is definitely, like, enough. There needs to be enough onus on the players that, like, there's a lot of guys who've gotten off to slow starts. And if that switches, it's such a long season where it should, especially like McAvoy, like at some point he's going to start dominating again. And then maybe everything flips. Swayman being the biggest one. But Monty ends up, he takes the fall for him. And yeah, it's like, it's the game. That's the league that we're fans of. It's just no security. If you have expectations and things aren't looking good, you're done. And now it probably starts the carousel, right? Like all these other teams where you're hearing about these slow starts, these Detroit needs to get in the playoffs this year. They got to figure it out. Like, you'll probably start seeing some other dominoes fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as what you were saying before, like the league's in a good spot, you know, with the players and the personnel and the skill level. And then the consistency is what you're looking for at any level. But especially when, you know, it's, you know, must wins at 20 games into the season.
You're done.
Guys. Yeah, it's tough. It is tough.
Like, people are like, if they lose to Columbus, Monty's fired. I'm like, all right, well, what if they win and they get blown out the next game? Like, is he just in must-win mode now? It's November.
Every game you got to win. It's unbelievable.
Good luck.
The other thing, Whit, that before we let you run, that's kind of been hot topic has this Canadian Junior League and kids being now allowed to go play in the NCAA. We had Taylor McDougall on last week, who was the general manager up in Moncton, and had a great conversation with him. And it was a lot, it's interesting. It's interesting times. I think it's really changing. Obviously, Motts is coaching out in the BCHL, so it's really kind of dominated like the younger levels, right, of hockey. We've seen multiple kids leaving the USHL, leaving the BCHL, leaving kids that are playing prep hockey, going up to major junior, because now it's an option that these kids that are committed to wherever, BU, Maine, can go play major junior. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a wild time, and what's so crazy is like nobody even knows like how this is all gonna work. I feel real bad. I saw Foles sent over to our group chat a list of kids who've left the USHL and BCHL already. It's like 40 kids. I saw the BCHL guys are having like an emergency meeting because that sucks. I mean, it really stinks for teams that have formed and gotten something going, and now you got kids, and like you kind of see that side of it too, though. Like, you're looking, especially nowadays where everyone's kind of looking out for themselves a little bit. It's changed a lot in terms of like what's best for me and my development. Right off the bat, when I heard it, I was like, you know what, this is kind of crazy. It almost seems long overdue. It's going to make college hockey incredible because now you think you got all these kids that are going to go play major junior till they're 19 or 20 and then go to college. And it's like college is going to be like top dog, which it kind of has been lately. I feel like obviously he's got some elite players, but these college hockey is just getting better and better. And then talking to people after, it's like, oh my God, as an American, this is going to like hose American kids. Like, it was hard to play D1 hockey before. And now you got all these kids who couldn't and weren't allowed to because of the choices they made to go play major junior. And now they can play. So being an American hockey player now to get a scholarship D1, that just became, I mean, immensely difficult. Like, it's going to be so hard now for kids. It's great for college, but it's also like, even locally, like, I didn't know, have kids left prep school around here to already go major junior?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that's like what'll probably end up happening is the elite players, the top end 16-year-olds will go to major junior, and Massachusetts kids will go to the Quebec League, and they'll play 2 years, and then they'll go to the college that they've already committed to or would have committed to, and it just changes the entire pipeline of development and players, and probably makes the CHL like more skilled, even if that was possible. And then you don't have those overage guys because they'd rather go play D1 in the States, and you get the most of both worlds. So for a lot of kids, it'll be amazing. But for fringe kids who could have maybe gotten a scholarship before, now a lot of those guys are are probably screwed. So that sucks for like the development model in American hockey. And the USHL had turned into a place where there were top-notch Adam Fantillis and Owen Powers going to the USHL before college.
Celebrini played in Chicago.
Celebrini. And now that these USHL teams are like, oh no, what's going to happen to us? So the way it's going to shake out, it's going to be bizarre, and kind of to see what happens will be crazy. But I see both sides of how it's cool for the game and college and kids not getting screwed by a major junior decision. But it does stink for some American kids, no doubt.
Yeah, I feel like, you kind of touched on the points. The pool's being expanded. It's going to be more difficult to play college hockey. If you were that borderline guy, but the trickle-down effect from D1 to D3, it's just going to improve the quality of play in college. You're right with that.
Okay, but Motts, here's my thing. So hearing now that it's basically turned into, unless you're Macklin Celebrini or this Hagen's kid, there's obviously some, but most kids, you got to go play a year, if not two, of juniors after high school, and that's to play D3 hockey. Like, It used to be like, hey, I'm going to play at Bowdoin. I'm playing at Trinity. Like, that's awesome. I'm playing, but I'm going right after high school. And now it's like, wait, I'm going to go kind of put everything on hold for a while. And then I'm playing D3, which is great. And you're competing and you get to continue your career. But it's like, I think if you're looking at D3 hockey, I think you're nuts if you're not looking at some of these club programs now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, my son Ryan's in that position right now.
Oh, and now, granted, a lot of the, like, you talk about like Georgia or like Tennessee and these SEC schools, tough schools to get into, no doubt. But there are so many schools where you go, there's like 3,000 to 4,000 people at club hockey games.
Yeah.
The school doesn't even know, like, you're not even like Division One. Like, the people at the school are like, oh, these guys are in the NHL. Like, and if granted, some of these D3 schools in the Northeast, these NESCAC schools, they're unbelievable colleges. But it's for pure enjoyment and like love of the game. Like, I think club hockey is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, you're not going to play in the NHL, not going to play pro hockey after, but you probably weren't if you were playing D3 anyways. And you could enjoy school a little bit more, and it's not as intense. Maybe you don't have to go. No, you definitely won't have to go and play 2 years of junior. And Motts, I know you're out in the BCHL. There'll always be kids that want to do that, but the process of like putting your life on hold for that long to end up playing 4 years and be done anyways. It's like, I look at, man, you could go play at some of these club teams and have the time of your life. And it's very serious hockey too.
Yeah. And it's those tryouts for all these club teams now. Like back when we were coming through, it was just like, I played high school hockey. I didn't want to go D3. I'm going to just.
You're on the team.
Hop on and. Yeah,
every kid's got two different color socks, different laces.
They're using laces to tie their pads.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's how you know. That's how you know.
But yeah, I think that's a great point with just some of these, especially the SEC schools. Like if they got their stuff together, like that could expand the D1 pool as well. And
that's my hope.
I think it's going that way for sure.
Yeah, like you hope that. What was Bunzo saying the other day, Bri? There's like 60 D1 hockey programs, roughly.
There's 62 or 64.
Okay, so I'm hoping in 10 years there's 85. Maybe that's totally wishful thinking. And in 20 years there's 100. And that would make it at least, all right, well, now you're taking in all these major junior players, but there's way more programs. And if the SEC, like you hear UNLV will do what Penn State and Arizona State did at one point. But imagine if the SEC got college hockey. One, it would be huge with the fans because hockey's enormous down the South, whether people know it or not. People love it. And two, they have the money, they have all the resources. So if you could ever have an SEC of D1 college hockey, maybe 15 years it happens. It would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think the role, a couple points that I was just thinking about when we were talking, the role of like an advisor and a family advisor, agents as so-called, is going to be huge now with these kids, right? Because the window, I'm thinking of certain kids that have spent, in order to play recently Division I hockey, most kids were doing at least 3 years in prep school. Then they were going out to the USHL for a year or two, and that runway is extended. Maybe it's now, where they stay in prep school, they actually graduate because they're still going to have to do 2 years anyways, right? So maybe that that lifetime that they stay in school stays a little bit longer for those kind of, maybe not the Will Smiths of the world, right? Or the NTDP, the real high end, but those other kids, it could trickle down a little bit that way. So I think those relationships with agents and, different teams, and whether it's going to the USHL, the BCHL, the Quebec League, like everybody's going to still have to really navigate their path. And I think the other thing that popped into my head is obviously, like, you could see with the Quebec League, whether it's somewhere in Maine, New Hampshire, Boston, maybe it's Chiclets. Are they expanding down in this area? I think it would be great, especially with Hockey East right around the corner. Like if you could get a team somewhere outside the Boston area, and I think it would be a home run, right? When Keith was up there, they had the Lewiston Maniacs, which was a little bit of a ride, but it was, there's going to be more influence, I think, in this New England region, in the Quebec. And I've already heard there's been conversations with USHL teams potentially going to the OHL, right? And,
that's what, and I've thought about the other thing about this rule is like, what happens to the NTDP?
Yeah,
100%.
Which is crazy because this has turned in 98. I think Offiero was Offiero was one of the first kids there. 98, maybe 99.
Yeah, Pat Foley,
it's turned into it's just amazing place to develop, and these American kids and Matthews and Kane and Hughes, and it's like, okay, well now if they're playing college teams, that's good, but they also play USHL teams. What happens to the USHL? If these kids can go to junior, that's kind of scary for USA Hockey probably a little bit, and the National Development Program, which has been maybe the biggest success story you could have ever imagined when it was created. Probably took a little bit of time, but it ended up taking over. It's like, holy shit, like there's a high percentage of these kids that are going on to not only play like star in college, but play in the NHL. What happens to that program? So many questions remain.
The other thing about the kids that right now who all of a sudden the floodgates open, the door opens to go to college hockey, they haven't been keeping up with their studies. So like just as far as like the schooling aspect to get into the school. So, kids coming up within the next, 1, 2, 3 years, they'll have their ducks in a row, but the kids might miss some opportunities right away because of not knowing that this was going to come down the pipeline and just didn't really keep up on their school and not being able to get into it, academically get into the school.
Yeah, because there's that 4-year clock of high school that those are the grades that the colleges are going to take.
Yeah, and also I do think though that I was like not in arguments on Twitter, but talking to people. If you're the like top of the chain, like if you're the big dog and you're playing major junior, how are you not going to play college your draft year? Like this kid Gavin McKenna in Medicine Hat, apparently they're gonna like he's Bedard's cousin, and I think he's like they're talking like McDavid Crosby-ish type hype about this kid who's 17. So next year's his draft year. I'm like, where's he going to go to college? Because look at what these dudes have done who played their draft year at college. Celebrini, Eichel, like Hagens is doing it right now. Yeah. And people are like, oh, he can't go to college. I'm like, oh, you don't think that these superstars can figure out a way to accelerate through high school and get into college? You're crazy. It's not going to be for everyone, but if you're that good, like a possible first overall pick playing in college this draft year, they'll figure out a way to get you in. And those kids, I think, would benefit from a year of college hockey and World Juniors as opposed to major junior if they plan on going to the NHL after 1 year like Celebrini or this McKenna kid.
Well, because college hockey's turned into a man's game. I watched BU and Lowell playing the other night, and BU has obviously some unbelievable players, but Lowell has grad students. They have men, like full-grown men, bullies when you watch them. Legit. And it was
physical.
And it's physical. It's hard. So as a scout, right, Motts, you scouted for years. As a guy that's evaluating talent, you want to see those draft picks, those draft-eligible kids play against men because you know what? Next year, they're going to have to be.
Yeah, age-appropriate's fine. You want to have them dominate at those levels, but then when you're playing against someone that can lean on you a little bit more, just like that little extra cross-check or just that little extra kind of oomph.
Speed, too.
Yeah.
A little faster.
Yeah, just being like heavier almost, and that will translate to the next level at whatever AHL, NHL, and you want to see how they respond to a little bit more kind of pushback from a defender, or just maybe a little more experience, like thought process, like a stick in the lane, give and take, like just taking away the time and space and see how they react. And that's something that you can get at college hockey now because of the age.
Yeah, college it's unreal to watch now. Like you could put on like any team, like Bryce says, you get older, you get stronger, and like there's not really many easy matchups anymore. It used to be, there were some teams you knew you were beating when we were all in school, and now that's not the case because of the age and because of who you could bring in and the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
The transfer portal is another thing that's a complete joke.
Yeah.
Like I remember Ned Havard saying to me like back in the day that, and I get like if you're a junior, if you're going into your junior year and you see writing on the wall like, oh, I'm not going to play a lot the next 2 years. Like that's where it's like I totally get that. Give the kid a chance to go somewhere else without sitting out a year where he could play. But this, like, as many times as you want transfer, like give everyone one transfer or something, because you can see college football. Guys are playing for a new team every year. It's like, how do you even recruit when you don't know what you're going to lose in the portal? And like that portal list pops up in like March. All of a sudden you're like, what? That kid's gone. And then obviously if you're in the portal, you're not coming back there. Even if nobody ends up wanting you, I'm not taking you back. You tried leaving. So it's like, it's just a weird time in hockey and development and keeping a team. Like we were all on teams. Like it was just like all about that. And you knew who was coming in and you knew who was graduating. And now you don't know what's going to be there. And you don't know what kid is unhappy or happy with ice time. And there's just so many different things trying to plan as a coach. Like if you're Pando, who do we have coming in and who's leaving? I don't know.
Part of an assistant coach's job, I think, and a head coach's has turned into not only recruiting, recruits, but recruiting your own players.
I know.
Keeping that kid that might be in and out of the lineup around and talking them through like, hey, listen, we see you playing here, having an impact as a junior and senior. And I think in terms of overall culture, you need that. Like these colleges, you can't just have all one and done type guys. You need a culture. You need older guys that are around, that are your leadership group that have paid the dues and been really good teammates throughout the whole thing. And Motts, I know you've talked to college coaches about it as well.
Yeah, I just feel like back when we were coming through, it was, the coaching staff had to commit, the player had to commit. It was more like a marriage, and like you have to make good decisions, and you have to be kind of firm in your decision making and in your assessment of a player. Now it's like, Tinder, where you can just swipe right or left. I don't know, whatever.
Biz would be perfect now.
Hey, he's not the GM of our team in Quebec in Boston for the Q. Then no way, no way.
Hey, but that's why when we interviewed Pando, it hasn't come out yet. It was awesome, but he talked about one kid on BU, and it was this kid Jack Harvey, and he played in Chicago the year before with Celebrini, and he lit it up. And then he came in, and that's when I was like hanging around with the team for the first half of the year. And smaller kid, but very skilled, but just like the pace wasn't there yet. And I think he was a healthy scratch. Like it had to, right around like the first 10 to 15 games.
Yeah.
Pando said he never complained one time. His advisor, if he even has one, never called a coach one time.
He's got one. Everybody's got one.
I guess everyone's got one, and they call assistant coaches, and it's like, he never complained. He never had anyone else complain. He waited it. He worked his balls off in practice. He got his chance. He lit it up. It's like that kid could have thrown his name in the portal. And it's like 100%. Those are kind of the guys that it's like, buddy, it's just turned into like, what's next? What's better? What's better? What else can I do? Where else can I go? It's just what happened to the old like,
adversity.
Hey, I'm here. I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to work my way out of this slump. I'm going to work my way into the lineup. And it's so much of this instant gratification where you just take a step back. And I understand parents and kids, and you fall in the trap and you think that guy's doing that. I got to do this. But it's like, dude, it is such a marathon, not a sprint. And so many people have forgotten that. And that's kind of what's hurting the game a little bit is like, what can I do that can help me? What can I do tomorrow that I'm not doing today? Not just like working hard, but like actually going to a new team, a new skill coach, a new youth team. It's just become so, what do I need? What do I need to do next? As opposed to like, let's build something here. I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. But Whit, I think we've taken enough of your time. Before we
Well,
let
Brian,
you go,
did you already tell the story? Have you guys already recorded where you talked about sending the goalie to the box?
we got to bang that out after this.
Oh
Motts
my
and I are gonna
God, I
break that
can't wait
down.
to
But
listen to that all-time clip. Frankie, Frankie, you like a penalty. Get in the box.
Hey,
Get in the box.
I had a buddy text me last night. They're like, the fact that his name Frankie makes it that
It
much
makes
better.
it way better.
You know what I
If it
mean?
was like,
'Cause-
if it was like Ryan, it was just Frankie. Get in the box. I
So,
had
yeah.
so many people reach out. Like, this is the funniest thing. We interviewed Tuca. He's like, I've never seen that. I've never heard of that. It was so. Oh, what a! I'm so happy for Live Barn that clip was captured.
Well, sometimes it can really affect you negatively as a coach, but this was one that was definitely positive. I've had so many people text me, and like it was amazing. It was one of those. I was sitting on the bench, and after it happened, I looked down at the kids, and like Liam with his little smirk, he kind of gave me like the eyes. He's like, "What are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm like, I go, "But that was unbelievable." And I look at Dave Cooper, who I coached with. I'm like, "Dude, this is probably the best moment of my coaching career."
It was so funny.
And it was absolute comedy.
I put the Instagram up on my Instagram, and then Lauren, your sister, wrote me back. She's like, I just have to call him immediately and like get that whole story. Like that is the most ridiculous, funniest clip I've ever seen. Frankie!
It's so good, so good.
All right, guys.
This has
anything
been
else?
great.
Anything else?
No. I think this wraps things up. It's been a pleasure as usual. I think when Motts gets back, let's get a sandbagger on the books. Let's get it going. I got to dial in my golf game. Get on biz.
No doubt.
When
Mott's
Motts gets
got that
back,
wrist hinge. Mott's got that wrist hinge we always talked about.
Yeah, I went stricker last summer.
All right, Motts, it's great seeing you. Good luck the rest of the year, and Brian, I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right,
you again.
thanks, Whit. See you, buddy.
See ya, boys.
See you, bud. Thank you.